Welcome back, and if you're new, my name is Thandeka. I am from Eswatini. Today I want to talk about the thoughts that you have about yourself. So one thing that I want to say before I start everything is the more you try to fit in, the more you're going to fit out. And I've learned that, like, that is like from my experience. The way that I was trying so hard to fit in, I was fitting out, and that just went downhill. So with the thoughts that you have about yourself, I want to ask that maybe you were sitting in a room, or you were, public transport or something, and you thought, I am not smart enough, pretty enough, or I am not, what is accepted, if you put it in that sense. Because what I've learned in life is that you need to deal with those things, especially if they keep on repeating, recurring. The thoughts are recurring over and over. You need to handle that. And most of us do not know what mental health is, and we are going to talk about that. So what is mental health? Okay, so I'm gonna go and look at like the definition of the World Health Organization, and it's talking about mental health is a state of mental well-being that enables people to cope with stresses of life, realize their abilities, learn and work well, and contribute to their community. And I am trying by all means to contribute to this community, which is you guys. And I want to, because I'm Christian, I want to establish that. I really need to establish that, because I'm known for taking vlogs and all of that. I need to establish this thing that I am a Christian. And as I think I was looking at this thing of, I had a thought that came as I was just spending time with Jesus, and he was saying, imagine this, imagine in all the stores there is, maybe for example, there's white chocolate. If they're like white chocolate or Cheetos or Doritos, let's say they have one and the same flavor, and in that one flavor, it's just it. You go to another country, there's just the same flavor. That is it. And imagine you buy those and you eat them, you just don't like the flavor. You go to, maybe you choose a chocolate and you just don't like it. And then what? What you gonna do about that? There's literally nothing that you can do about that, because that is something that you cannot change until maybe then you can decide to build or start your own thing. But this thing comes to this: if you are you and you look at yourself in the mirror and the physical features you have, that is something that you cannot change, then what you're gonna do about it? You have to embrace how you look, because the thoughts that you have about yourself, at some point you're going to start to believe them, and at some point that is one of the things that will be the generator of how you are, behaving towards other people, how you are talking to other people, because hurt people hurt people. The fact that you have been told that you are ugly, you are this, you are that, is because those people also, they have something about themselves, but because they want to bring somebody else down, they don't want to feel alone, they bring that person into that, and they are causing harm to that person, but they're experiencing a victory out of that. And the fact that there's so many different flavors of chips or chocolate or whatever, it's because if you don't like white chocolate, or if you don't like dark chocolate, you have an option to go for the other. So if you don't like thin girls, for example, or maybe thin boys or chubby boys, you have an option to go for someone else. But you don't have the option to cast them out or just bring them down and just discriminate them in that way. And people need to understand that Jesus is like a master. You know, we are his masterpiece, and he's like a builder, you know, and we are his work, you know. And the way that we are built, he's not one of those people that I say, you know, work in progress, work in progress. Like, you were made perfect like that. You were made perfect like that because you're not a mistake. To God, you're not a mistake. You know, sometimes we don't do the right things the way maybe he could expect us to do, but you're still, nonetheless, you're not a mistake. Hence, the thoughts that you have about yourself that people have told you, you need to stop. Dismiss them immediately, like yesterday, because they're not important. Especially if they're negative, they're not important. If somebody comes to you and they're like, oh my gosh, you're so pretty, you look stunning and all of that, oh my gosh, thank you, that makes you feel good. But if this is a person that is coming to you and they have this thing, oh, I don't like your freckles, I don't like your hair, I don't like your skin color, so what should I do about that? Because another thing, who are you to come and tell me I don't look like? That's your preference. Go to that shop or that country where they're making your kind of man or your kind of girl and whatever. Don't, you know, subject me into what you believe the world should look like, because it's people like you that are, you know, putting people in the mental hospitals, you know, in the hospitals, or to force people to go to isolation because they hate themselves that bad because you went on the internet or you went somewhere or you came across them and you just like, you know, you're not pretty, you're not, because, you know, you grew up knowing some level or some standards. They change like the internet. One moment we like this thing, one moment we don't like this thing. Like choose one. Now we have pencils, the brown pencils, whereby people, when they make their makeup, they put on, like, they make their own freckles, even if, but you know, a few years, people that had freckles, that kind of like, come on, you cannot live like that. You cannot accept to live like that. I want to ask you something. What do you think a mental illness looks like according to you? And also, do you really believe that Jesus can heal mental illnesses? Right? And I'm asking you that because I am from Eswatini in Africa, obviously. So the cultures are different in each and every maybe continent or countries. You know, mental illness to us, for example, to see that you have a mental illness, we have to see you have, like, you know, a behavior, crazy behavior, or show that, you know, I have a mental illness or something like that. But it's not all. The people that are going through the most, but they're laughing each and every day. And you ask them, how are you doing? Oh my gosh, I'm so fine. Like, oh, everything is just smooth. No, like 2 months down the line, they have their lives. And then they're thinking, you know, but they said no, they were not fine. Because sometimes people don't feel safe enough around us to say, you know, I'm not okay, I'm not well, because we always go for this thing. I know it's a positive thing to say, you know, you want to say it's gonna be okay, but at that moment it's not okay. It's not. Let's not push that onto people that are going through the most. Let's stop saying that to people. It's going to be okay. It's going, as much as we know that, we are hoping as well that it's going to be okay at some point, but right now it's not okay. So walk with that person at that length, at that space. Oh my gosh, how can I help? You know, sometimes just listening to somebody is helping. Sometimes, you know, praying for them is, especially if you're a person who is saying, talk to me, you know, I'll pray with you, I will speak, even if you don't have to respond to them, or just listening. And just because most of the time we want to be the center, like we want to, you know, respond back, like reply. No, sometimes a person just needs you to like sit with them. And just because another thing, why I asked you what you think, you know, mental a mental illness looks like is because I think it was in Luke 8. Let me see. I think it was in Luke 8, verse 26 to 35, if I'm not mistaken, whereby there's this man, social isolating himself. He is showing severe harm, he's self-harming himself. His behavior is erratic. Okay, for example, let's just read it. Okay, let's just read it, and then we can see ways. Luke, okay, it's from verse 26 to 35, so you can just go read it, or I'll just put it somewhere. He was uncontrollable, because you have to realize that he had demons in him. The demon, when he's asked by Jesus, he says legion, and that's like a lot of demons. And physical things that we see, they are actually coming from the spiritual world, from the unseen. And most of the time we never understand why all of a sudden this person is so quiet, all of a sudden this person is going through that and all that. As much as it can be spiritual, warfare and all of that, this man was doing all this and all that. Jesus comes and he's casting out the demons, and they go into the pigs, and the pigs, they dive into the river, and then they just drown. And then later on, this man is found sitting at the feet of Jesus. Now listen, my answer to do you believe that Jesus can treat all illnesses? Of course. We're talking about a man that died. Okay, we're talking about a man that died and woke up after 3 days. Like, he died. On its own, it's a miracle. Also, we see Peter. I honestly think to myself, Peter, he might have denied Jesus, but he was one of the people that were active, in the ministry of Jesus, because he's there, he's being called. I'm saying this because in church, the pastor was talking about it. It's like, most of the time we focus on when Peter drowned for that second. We don't actually think that he first walked from the boat, going to Jesus, and then he drowns, and then after that they walked back together to the boat. He didn't carry him on the back or whatsoever. So with me saying these things, it's just to encourage you to be not only nice to people, but just to be kind to people, because people are going through a lot. Mental illnesses don't just start out of nowhere, and they're not only caused by genetics or the environment. When I say environmental factors, I mean family, because sometimes poverty, people that are not treated so nicely at home and all of that, but sometimes it's them being not treated nice and growing up in that certain family that leads them to substance abuse. And in the longest time, those substances can lead to some mental illnesses, disorders that are just normalized in our days, and you shouldn't normalize them, especially if you're a child of God. And if anybody would tell me anything in this world, if I would go back and tell 15-year-old me or 20-year-old me, I know we have to live and experience life and just not listen to that, do that. Listen, I would take all of the don't do this, and all that. I'd take that and just run with it. Because if I would go back and tell my younger self, I would tell my younger self that I know you do not understand what is happening with this Jesus stuff, or why you should just go to Jesus and live your life with Jesus. But listen, he's the only thing you need. He's everything and anyone and everything that you need. Because let me tell you something, why is it that today, I didn't want to talk about this, but I'm going to talk about it, because why is it that today, so someone called me around 4 or 2-4, and then they called me, I think they called me 4 times, and then I just tried to call them back when I came out of church. And the first thing they do when I pick up the call is they're cussing at me, like they're just insulting me, like from left and right, and I'm like, whoa. So they're saying this, they're saying all these bunch of things, and my first reaction obviously is like hang up, because I'm not going to take disrespect from anybody. I'm not doing that today, sir. No, sir. And then they call again, and then I'm like, yes, hello. And then he's cursing at me again, and then he's like, where are you, or don't tell me that you were in church, blah 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 blah. I'm like, hold up, do I have a husband that I don't know about, or like do I have a boyfriend that I don't know about? Because this is not it. Like, hold back away, back away. So he continues, and then he's like la, 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 and he's saying the things that would piss you off as well. Like, you would be like, sir, can we call the police? Because and then after that, I just I hang up at the end of the day, blah blah blah, and then I'm just seated in the car, and I'm like, thank you, Jesus. I know he cursed me out, I know he said all a bunch of things, but I am thankful to Jesus because I'm at peace. Okay, I'm at peace. Because if this was me a year ago, or in the years where I was like a lukewarm Christian, he would have got what he came for, because I would have said all the things that I've been meaning to say to anybody else. I would straight towards him, because I don't understand, like, so it's things like that when they come and they want to take you out, like they want you to go back to your old ways, they want you to start throwing some hands, but then they find you and you are with Jesus, you're like, nope. It just happens automatically. You're just like, no way, this is not happening to me today. You're not, like, the Holy Spirit is like, no, we are safe on this side, we are safe. So this was me today. But then that, just because I didn't take that in that way, or respond back in a mean way where an ordinary person would respond, it's not like that with anybody else. So as a person, you cannot go out of your way to make somebody else feel bad, because you don't know where they grew up, you don't know how they're feeling that day, you don't know their mental state. They're not going to be able to cope with what you're coming with. Your insults, they're not going to be able to cope with that. Then they're already trying to survive a day. They're already trying to wake up and just come up with an idea that is going to take them out of their homes, that try to be better, build a home for the father, the mothers, the kids, and all of that. Poverty, they're trying to come out of poverty. I was not born from a rich family. I am not rich. I am not near rich. But I am so grateful that I am able to wake up each and every day and learn something new and get closer to Jesus. And me, today, I came to say, you do not have a right. You do not have a right to have an opinion about somebody's body. You do not have a right to have a say about someone's livelihood, on how they're living. The fact I also don't have a right to tell you how to live your life. I am only here to encourage you, to say, take Jesus. He's the only thing, he's the only person that will make things make sense to you. Because the world out here, you know how it is. Today we're doing this, tomorrow it is it's an industrial site. Everything, it's busy, it's busy. And I came to say that to the young girl, to the young boy who is growing up thinking, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not the preferred kind, get on this. This is the boat. this is the boat that I have been on since I was a little girl. I always wanted to fit in, okay? I always wanted to be part of the cool kids. I always wanted to be like by the boy. You will always want, but it is not worth it. I know that you're going through that right now and it just doesn't feel true. I get it. I so much get it. Listen, I'm 26 and I don't even have a boyfriend. But there's a younger person than me that has a boyfriend, and I'm not, to judge and whatsoever, but you have to look at yourself. If you are always trying to impress that person, if you're going out of your way to impress them and it's compromising your value, and listen, as a boy or as a girl, you need to focus on what is building you, not what is going to take from you. Focus on that. My thing today will tell you that the bad thoughts in your mind, you don't need to focus on that. So my question today before I leave is, those thoughts that you are believing about yourself, are they your own thoughts, or they are the opinions of other people that they've told you? You thinking you're ugly because other people have told you. And another thing, when those thoughts, negative thoughts, come bearing and in your mind, ask yourself, is this what Jesus thinks about me? Is this what Jesus has said about me? Because listen, what Jesus thinks about you is more kinder than the negative thoughts in your mind. And listen, when you're going through anxiety and all of that, Jesus is not sitting in heaven thinking, oh, I didn't see that coming, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? No, he's not doing that. He's gonna help you through it. So please stop thinking about that. Stop being so negative to yourself. And I love you, and I hope God blesses you and keeps you safe for us to have another episode 2, I think. Yes, so please stay tuned, because there is more interesting things to learn that are coming. So please, I wanted to read something, but then I'm like, listen, I'm gonna share it in the next episode. Listen, remember, you are thought of, you are loved, and nobody else loves you more than Jesus. And because he cares about you that much, I'm here today and I was able to tell you that. So bye.